And what's going on, YouTube? I'm going to be making a sort of a series of uncut, unedited videos because I'm trying to make a push towards becoming a little bit more popular. So the best way to let people know is by making videos. So basically, I decided that I'm going to look at that video that says 10 questions that every educated Christian must answer, and I'm going to cover 3 of them in this little segment right here. So basically, he challenges us to use our college education to think about our faith. And I am a college student. I have attended college now for several years, and I have learned lots about secularism and lots about evolution, lots about evolutionary teachings and that sort of thing. So, okay, so let's look at the first question. If God cures cancer patients, why won't God cure amputees? Well, number one, I have to say that I am not 100% sure that He cures cancer patients, because there's a lot of people who get cured from cancer just by changing their diet sometimes, or just by changing a lifestyle or a habit. Some of these people, they have a tumor, then they come back, and the next day they don't have any tumor at all. So that would be something that a doctor would call a miracle, because it's unexplained. So that's something that I would look at. But the question is, it has a fallacy behind it, in that it assumes that amputee victims are the same thing as cancer patients. They're not. It's apples to oranges. A cancer patient is a person who's about to die. An amputee, if I lose my arm, am I about to die? No. Maybe if I don't get it sewed up, I might bleed to death, maybe. But if I do get it sewed up, is that going to shorten my life? Maybe. Maybe not. Most likely not, though. However, a cancer patient is terminally ill, and they are going to die. So, curing an amputee is very different from curing a cancer patient. One is an imbalance which steadily gets worse, and the other has nothing to do with the person's health and vitality very much at all. A person can have no legs or no arms and still be a very healthy person. And curing a cancer patient is to save that person's life. Healing an amputee would be a very good thing, and Jesus did it while He was on the earth. He healed the sick. He healed amputees. He made the lame walk who never were able to walk in their whole lives. But it has very little to do with whether or not the person lives or dies if they have an arm chopped off. So that's my take on it. Question number 2 is, why does God care about my prayers, but yet there are millions of innocent people in the world who are dying and starving to death, children, men and women, who are dying and starving to death all over the world? Okay, first off, you've got to read Leviticus chapter 26. Leviticus chapter 26 explains the 6 stages of a degeneration, or 6 stages of degeneration of a nation. And this allows you to see what happened to the Jews over the course of history. What happened to every nation over the course of history. It rose to power, and then it fell. It rose to power, and then it fell. All these different nations. Okay? Whenever a nation serves God, and a majority of the population is biblically oriented to the Bible, that nation will prosper, be very prosperous. Look at America. We were founded on Christian principles. And if you don't think that's true, then you haven't been doing your homework. So basically, let's see here. I wrote down some stuff, some thoughts on this. Oh, another thing. You said a loving God. Why would a loving God let those people die? You're obviously trying to take a punch at us as believers, our emotions. And the thing is that God only blesses a nation, okay, whenever they are serving Him, whenever there's a maximum amount of people who are doctrinally oriented to His Word, as there is here in the United States. You must look at the lifestyles which was set into motion centuries beforehand for these people who are now starving to death today. You must look at their religions. You must look at the choices that they made in their own lives sometimes. You see, for the reason that they're starving today. If I went out and I started not taking care of myself, I started doing drugs, spending all my money on drugs, and making a whole bunch of very poor decisions, it would be my fault that my body would start to wear away and decay, okay? And I wouldn't have any money for food because I'm using it all on drugs or booze or whatever. And it's not God's fault. It's their own fault most of the time. Let's see here. Okay, so let's move into question number 3. Why does God demand the death of so many innocent people in the Bible? This is one that a lot of people ask, and it's always sort of enigmatic for me. But the answer goes like this: whenever you go back and you look at the lifestyles of the surrounding nations, God was talking to the Jews when He gave them these laws. And He told them to kill these people who sinned against these laws, who broke the laws. Okay? So whenever they broke the laws, they had to kill them. And the reason for this was because of the surrounding nations at the time. The surrounding nations were repulsively sinful. They threw their own children into furnaces as sacrifices to idols. They would perform human sacrifice, and they were very, very perverse. They would take place in bestiality and homosexuality and all the worst sins that you can think of, they were doing it. And the Jews, on the other hand, in order to keep pure as a nation, they had to remain clean. They had to keep the people from sinning as much as possible. So that's why these penalties were laid down by God, to help the Jewish nation preserve itself. As I said in Leviticus chapter 26, Leviticus chapter 26, it explains that the 6 stages of degeneration for a nation. And that's what would have started happening to the Jews if they did not abide by those laws. So if you studied up and learned how repulsively sinful the surrounding nations were at the time of these verses when they were written, and included that in the context with how the Bible places judgment on those lifestyles, it would make a little more sense. And in today's society, however, it's hard to understand because of our vast cultural difference. But in many ways, we're not actually all that different. Okay, that's the end of this video. I will be coming with more answers to the remaining questions soon.